Merry Christmas, season's greetings, whatever you're celebrating this year. I hope you're having a fantastic time. And now, of course, as it's coming towards the end of the year, it's time to look back on the games that have come out this year. Now, I've picked the 5 games that I think are the best of the bunch. It was definitely the later half of the year that was the best. So first up, we have Azul. This is one for anyone who's a fan of abstract games. In fact, this is one for people who don't like abstract games even. Me and my wife, not huge abstract game fans, but we've really enjoyed the original Azul. This is the new one, Stained Glass of Sintra. So the original Azul was about building kind of a tiles, and this has a lot in the same mechanically, but this time you're building these stained glass windows. What this means is it's essentially Azul, but with a bit more going on. You still have the take a colour, the rest go in the middle, and you take all of one colour off a location, and eventually, you know, someone's ending up taking stuff and might have more stuff than they need. But what this adds in is the variable boards, which are great. It means you've got a lot of variation going on where the bits end up, which way up they are, at what point. You've also got variation on how you score, which is very interesting. So there's a lot more randomness and variation going on, giving it a lot more life. But then you also have this kind of element of, I don't really know how to describe it, but where you can place tiles is based on where you move your person to. So kind of go to the end, but then you've got to spend a turn going back, which can be a good thing because you can use it to avoid having to take tiles, well, to take glass when you didn't want to take glass. So yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic game, very good component quality, very accessible, very easy to play, and just really great fun. If you enjoyed Azul, you're most likely going to enjoy this. Do you need both? I don't really know. I've only got Azul Stained Glass of Sintra. I'd been considering getting Azul. I tried this and I decided I preferred this and that I only needed it. Scarabya is another abstract game, sort of, though I'd actually describe it more as a puzzle game. This is very much kind of a solitaire experience, multiplayer solitaire. If you've played things like Keyforge, it has much the same feel, and that's because you're all getting the same setup of placing your grid down in the same way, and then cards will be revealed which will tell you which of your polyomino tiles you're able to place. So this is kind of Keyforge meets Baron Park or one of the other polyomino placing games. But the difference here is you're not trying to cover anything up, you're not trying to fill your board, you're actually wanting to enclose your scarabs. So what you want to do is create areas that are enclosed that are made up of 4 spaces or less. And the more scarabs you have in there, the better. So we turn over a card, and it's not that one, it's this one, let's say. And we place that on our board, and everyone is placing the same tile at the same time on their boards, but they're going to be placing them in different places depending on the choices that they've made. Then if you've enclosed anywhere, you score points, and the points you score, each scarab scores the number of squares that are enclosed, so between 1 and 4. So if you enclose a space with 2 scarabs in that has 3 squares, then that's 6 points. And obviously you could potentially get 3 scarabs in the space of 4 squares, at which point you'd be getting 12 points, which is huge. I really enjoy this game. I absolutely love it. It's just such a fun little puzzle experience. I think people who like Keyforge, Number 9, things like that are going to enjoy this game. Now, it has such a pasted on theme, but that does mean that it has some quite nice, cute artwork. The pasted on theme being adventuring in general, and each player's kind of boards are themed on a different thing, but they're all identical with regards to the actual layout. And yeah, so absolutely fantastic puzzle game, Scarabya. Okay, so those were both pretty light, easy to play games, which is great for people who want that. But what if people want something a bit meatier? Well, there's Architects of the West Kingdom. Now, people who have played kind of predecessor, Raiders of the North Sea, are most likely going to enjoy this as well. It is your typical kind of mid-weight Euro worker placement game with resource management. So you go to locations, you get resources. Now, what's different in this game is that the more people you have at a location, the better you are. So say I go here, I get more stone because I've got people there already. But there is a danger of having lots of people at a space. A, you could run out of people, which is a pretty big issue, but also you're able to capture people and remove them from the board and place them on your mat, and then you're able to take them from your mat and put them into prison. Now, otherwise, this game's fairly standard. You can get people that will give you special abilities, which is very handy. You can use your people to complete things to get you points. Now, the things you're completing are buildings, building up this kingdom, and also the cathedral. So they're the main ways to get points. And the game just has a lot of variation going on with the characters that come out each game, with the buildings that come out, and some of those give you abilities as well as giving you points. And then there's just the variation in how people choose to play their turns. But On top of all that, there's unique player powers, and so that gives a new spin because you don't know always which powers you're going to have. It gives unique starting setup, which drives you towards one style of play because you also have this kind of morale track here, how virtuous you are, how good you are. And if you're really bad, things are cheaper for you, but you can't work on the cathedral because you're naughty. But that means you can go to the black market, whereas if you're really good, you've got to pay all your taxes, you can work on the cathedral, but you can't visit the black market because they won't allow you in. So yeah, really interesting game. You can play a low virtue, high virtue, mid virtue. There's just so many options, and I really enjoy it. It's not heavy at all. It's quite approachable. It's got a bit of a steep learning curve, but if you're used to worker placements, it's really not that bad at all with regards to that. So that's Architects of the West Kingdom. I fell in love with Orbis when I first played it back in June at the UK Games Expo. I absolutely love it. When it came out at Essen, I rushed to buy it, and I still think it's a really fun, fantastic, easy to play game. Now, it's pretty simple. You are a god, and you are competing with other gods to build the best world. And what you do is you take a tile, and when you take a tile, you displace the people on there, which are for some reason represented by cubes. And so you take cubes of the same colour and you put them on all the adjacent tiles, and you get any cubes that were on that tile, and you have to pay cubes for some of the tiles, and they give you benefits such as scoring you points, and you'll place them into your kingdom, which for some reason has to be triangular, and you can only place tiles on tiles that match colour. But then you have the issue of, I really need to put a tile there, but I can't. So you end up with dead lands, and you build up and up and up, and eventually you take a god, which gives you extra points and abilities. And that's unique, and you've got a host of different gods, so you get different combinations going on from game to game. I just really enjoy it. The whole thing of just the hand coming down, giant hand, taking the pieces, so much fun. Such a good, short, interactive experience of a game. But by far, my favourite game of the year is Keyforge. In fact, I like it so much, I made my own box for it. Now, Keyforge, if you don't know because you've been living under a rock or you're just quite casual with these things, is a bit like your kind of collectible card games that you may have played when you were younger, you may now still play, and it's actually designed by the designer of Magic the Gathering. But this isn't a collectible game, this is a unique game. Now, what I mean by that is when you buy cards for this, you're buying a whole deck. And that deck has a special name, and you are the only person in the world with that exact combination of cards. That's how it's unique. And all the decks kind of work in different ways and have different strengths and abilities, and it's only through playing them that you learn the combos, you learn how to best use them. Obviously, some are still stronger than others, and they've thought about this. They have kind of what they call a chain system, which reduces the number of cards you draw. The other difference to most of those kind of dueling games, they tend to be dueling. I mean, one I absolutely love is Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that this isn't about the fighting, it's not about the dueling, it's about forging keys, hence the name. And when you forge keys, you give up amber, and you get amber through card effects and abilities and reaping. Once you forge your third key, you've won the game. So you can see it's actually a race game. And it's just about how you go about winning that race. So it's all about how you generate amber. Do you steal it off the other player? Do you just have cards that just give you amber? Do you have lots of creatures that allow you to reap amber? And yet that's the nature of this game. It is absolutely fantastic. I just love it because it gives me the feel of that kind of dueling collectible card game like Yu-Gi-Oh! But without the need to spend a huge amount of money. You can get in on this game for £9 is the RRP for a single deck. That's all you need. And then you can substitute tokens or use tokens from friends. That's it. £9 and you can play. You've got a deck and you can have fun with it. And if you're really serious, you can get lots of different decks and you can have fun. You can't do deck construction. If that's what you love about collectible card games, you're going to be disappointed here. But if what you like is the kind of engagement and the back and forth, this does this really well. It doesn't tend to have runaway leaders, which is very good. It means that you will kind of always have a chance. There's a lot of game-changing cards in there that are, boom, the entire board state changes. And that's both good and bad. It means that it's harder to build up towards something, but it means you've got to save those for the right time where you're just stopping your opponent pulling off their combos. Another thing that's unique about this game, and what really makes it just superb, is that you have 3 houses, and you can only use cards from one house in a turn. You declare at the start of your turn which one you're going to use, and that just makes you go, oh, do I use the one I've got the most down for? Do I use the one I've got the most in hand? There's some really tough, interesting choices at the very beginning of every single turn, and then you're watching to see how that unfolds, if you made the right choice or the wrong choice. Sometimes you pick a house just so you can get the cards out of your hand, discard them so you can draw different cards. Yeah, absolutely great. I love it. I enjoy it. I think it's fantastic. I've got several decks. I hope to get more for Christmas, fingers crossed. And yeah, so that's my favourite game of the year, Keyforge.